It's a range of punishment, and it'll be in the province of the judge, whoever gets the case. But it could be from 0 all the way to life imprisonment.
Supersede indictment, man. This the indictment out the original indictment. So we got indicted twice. So they smacked us with more charges, nigga. Thinking that shit will break us or make us. Conspiracy to possess firearms in front of the drug trafficking, violent crimes. The 3 other sided you will ever see.
What really goes down when a rapper fresh out the feds flips the script and targets the same man who helped build his name. Pooh Shiesty had everything lined up platinum success, a rare second chance, and even an ankle monitor keeping him in check. But somehow all of that got tossed in a single reckless moment, and the trail he left behind wasn't just messy, it was almost unbelievable. The same OG who opened doors for him suddenly became part of the problem. Pooh Shiesty stepped out of federal custody in October 2025 with strict conditions and a shot to reset his life. Fast forward just 5 months, and now he's tied to a brand new case, this time accused of pulling up on the very person who helped fund his rise.
You're not some wild horse who can go out in the prairie and just go, do whatever you want to other wild horses. No, you are a ward of the state. You still have to be where you're supposed to be. Otherwise, they can put you back in prison. Period. Hard stop. End of story.
People in the streets were already whispering, but law enforcement, they were paying even closer attention, catching every move. Let's rewind a bit. Pooh Shiesty born Lontrell Williams Jr. on November 8, 1999 in Memphis. Tennessee came up surrounded by the city's gritty drill scene Memphis rap. Doesn't play around, it's raw, heavy, and packed with real-life struggle, and Shiesty matched that energy perfectly, building his name through that intense sound. Back in 2019, his track Hell Night with Big 30 started turning heads in a serious way. By mid-2020, the buzz couldn't be ignored anymore. Then came the big co-sign. Gucci Mane himself reached out on June 19, 2020. Shiesty officially signed to Gucci 1017. Records backed by Atlantic, locking in a deal that changed everything. Their collab still together stamped everything in stone for the world to see. The mentor protege. Bond was official, no questions asked. Shiesty wasn't just another artist on the roster, he was the pick. The one Gucci Mane was betting big on. Gucci wasn't just running a label, either he was building a whole movement with one 7-part artist, factory part street, certified brand, and Shiesty was right at the center of it all. The rise came fast and loud. By 2021, Shiesty season dropped and went platinum, kicking the door wide open, then back in. Blood with Lil Durk. That track was everywhere. Radio, streaming, social media, you couldn't escape it. Even if you tried, numbers were going crazy and the spotlight kept getting bigger. Gucci poured serious time and energy into pushing Shiesty, placing him front and center on So Icy Summer and making it clear he was the face of the new 1017.
I heard about it from a bunch of people before it really got elevated to the status of being, sort of something that every rap fan knew about. I mean, I do feel like if it had no truth to it, that Gucci would have debunked it more forcefully.
From the outside, it looked like the perfect formula was playing out. Gucci finds raw talent, sharpens it up, and everybody gets paid? Simple as that. That's how the label game is supposed to work when everything clicks. After his own time away, Gucci's strategy was about rebuilding 1017 with real Southern voices, artists with authentic stories, and with Shiesty going platinum right out the gate. It felt like the plan was hitting even harder than expected. But success didn't cut ties with the street life. Trouble started creeping in fast. In October 2020, Shiesty got hit with armed robbery and shooting charges down in Florida. Then things got even messier with a strip club incident in Miami in 2021, adding more heat to his name. By January 2022, it all caught up. He took a plea deal on federal firearms conspiracy charges and got sentenced to 63 months. He spent close to 3 years locked down in a federal facility out in Pennsylvania, but even from behind those walls, the music didn't stop. In 2022, he dropped Shiesty Season Certified, and Gucci was still all over the track list. From the outside looking in, everything between artist and label seemed tight, songs still dropping, money still flowing, no public cracks showing at all. Any tension that might have been there stayed under the surface, at least for the moment. Then came that live stream moment. Right after getting out, he jumped online holding up paperwork for everyone to see, trying to prove a point loud and clear. He was talking fast, repeating himself. Energy all over the place, but the message simple. He wanted the world to know he stayed solid the entire time. When pressure hit, nobody on his side broke. Nobody switched. Up, that's what he stood on. But here is where I'm...
So the victim overheard Williams talking on his cell phone with a probation or parole officer, stating that his caseworker had given him permission to be out for rec time.
Here's where things take a sharp turn. Being solid and making smart moves are not the same thing at all, because according to federal prosecutors, just hours after that same live stream, things went left in a serious way. They claim Shiesty set off a chain of events tied to one of the wildest, most reckless situations, tied to a rapper in recent memory. One minute he's online showing paperwork, the next he's allegedly caught up in a whole new federal situation before the day even ended. After his release in October 2025, he was placed on home confinement with an ankle monitor locked in place. And that is not freedom, not even close. Every move gets watched. A probation officer stays on you. There's a strict curfew, limits on where you can go, and zero tolerance for anything involving weapons or new trouble. One slip, one violation, and it's straight back to custody, no debate, no second chances. Just like that, when you're on supervised release, your time isn't really yours, the system controls where you go, what you do, and how you move until that clock runs out. Every step is watched, every decision matters. Criminal defense attorney Bruce Rivers broke it down in simple terms for anyone confused about it. Supervised release is strict, no shortcuts, no playing around.
You can't muscle your way out of shit in no business. It don't go that way.
Pooh Shiesty did all that time in jail, in the feds. He around people that have unbelievable cases where it show how far the feds willing to go.
But Shiesty, it looked like he wasn't too concerned after getting out. Rumors started spreading fast that he wasn't happy with his 2017 deal. People were talking about money issues, royalty splits, creative limits, recoupment, all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Artists usually keep quiet. The streets picked it up and ran with it. Then another twist. Yo Gotti and CMG reportedly showing interest. Memphis and Atlanta always had that quiet tension. So a move like that would be shaking things up heavy in the southern rap scene, switching from Gucci side to Gotti side. That's not just business, that's politics, but Gucci wasn't about to let that happen easily. He had already invested time, money, and energy into building Shiesty from a locals. Memphis name into a national figure. That contract wasn't going anywhere. Back in October 2024, Gucci had already trimmed down the 2017 roster, letting multiple artists go over business decisions. But he kept Shiesty and Fugiano just two names out of the whole lineup. That kind of move is supposed to show trust, supposed to mean loyalty.
From what the victims could hear, Williams was informed that this was not the case, that he needed to return immediately. Williams Jr. agreed.
From Gucci's side, it looked like belief, like he was telling him, I still rocking with you, still building with you. But from Shiesty perspective, it didn't feel like support at all. It felt restrictive, like being boxed in. The more pressure built, the more. It started to feel like he couldn't move freely. One unverified street claim even suggested Shiesty got financial backing from Gotti to try and buy his way out of the deal. But when Gucci reportedly refused, everything got messy. Whatever really happened behind closed doors, the tension around that situation was only getting louder. The pressure was building fast and it was starting to spill over. Shiesty wanted out of 2017. Gucci wasn't going for it. And instead of handling it through lawyers filing motions, fighting it the smart way, like artists who know. The business things allegedly took a wild turn instead of going legal. Reports claim he reached out to his circle, calling people close to him and setting up a meeting that would change everything. Before anything hit the headlines, word was already moving behind the scenes. Adam22 even said he had Memphis sources telling him something serious had gone down between Shiesty and Gucci way before the public caught on. This wasn't sudden. The rumors had been floating for weeks, getting louder and harder to ignore. Gucci staying quiet. That wasn't fear, that was strategy. He wasn't reacting emotionally or making noise online. Instead, he moved carefully. His security reportedly included off-duty police officers, and the entire situation was picked up on surveillance cameras. While others talked, he stayed calculated, letting everything play out while evidence stacked up out. In the streets, some believed loyalty codes would keep things covered. But Gucci, he trusted something else, documentation, cameras, and timing. That difference in thinking changed everything. What was supposed to be a simple move turned into something much bigger and way more serious than anyone expected. January 10th, 2026, Dallas, Texas. A studio on Dallas Parkway became the center of it all. This is where things reportedly crossed the line from tension into a full federal situation. According to an FBI affidavit filed by Special Agent Brittany Garcia Shiesty, allegedly arranged what looked like a business meeting to discuss his 2017 contract with Gucci. 3 individuals showed up, including Gucci. Maine identified in documents along with 2 associates. They traveled to Dallas with security in place expecting a conversation. But instead of a routine meeting, investigators say this moment set off a chain of events that could carry serious legal consequences. From their side, this was supposed to be simple. Just to sit down a real conversation between people who had already made serious money together. Around 1:45 in the afternoon, they pulled up to the studio inside a larger office building.
Now this is felon in possession of a firearm. Okay, if it's a 924C, it's a 5-year mandatory minimum. But if it's used in connection with a crime, it's a 10-year mandatory minimum. And it's actually a consecutive sentence. So whatever your other sentence is, they add 10 years onto it. Unbelievable.
But when they got there, the place was closed. So they waited, passing time like it was nothing, grabbing bottles from a nearby liquor store, pouring into cups, just kicking back and vibing. Nobody on Gucci's side saw anything coming. Not one person thought a situation like this could turn into something dangerous. A label meeting turning into a setup that wasn't even on their radar. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, things were already moving different. Shiesty's father, Rel Williams Sr., was repeatedly calling the studio owner, listed as JN in official documents, trying to lock everything in. At 2:53 p.m., JN finally answered and was told the session was being booked, so Shiesty and Gucci could supposedly record music together. On the surface, it all sounded normal. Once the studio opened, everyone walked in, but what looked routine, on the outside had a completely different energy underneath. According to reports, Gucci stepped in, trusting the relationship they had built over time. He believed in the situation, and that trust ended up putting him in a risky position. Around 3:39 p.m., a studio employee showed up and noticed Shiesty and his father near the back door. Going back and forth on the phone, tension in the air, then things escalated fast. A group of 9 people entered the control room where the others were watching a football game. 9 people for what was supposed to be a simple business talk. That alone raised serious questions, and this part stands out heavy. Reports say Shiesty was on the phone with his probation officer while sitting inside that Dallas studio, even though he was supposed to be somewhere else. Based on his supervision terms during that call, he claimed he had permission to be outside. Investigators say that wasn't true. Making a move like that, while already under strict supervision, showed a level of risk-taking that could carry major consequences. The probation officer told him straight up, "Go home." But he didn't listen. Instead, he turned to Gucci and asked him to step into a private recording room to talk business Gucci. Even suggested rescheduling, trying to keep it calm and professional, but Shiesty wasn't trying to wait. He pushed for that conversation right then and there. Eventually, Gucci agreed while everyone else stayed back in the control room watching the game, still thinking it was just another normal day. The vibe stayed relaxed for a few more minutes. One of Gucci's people even offered drinks to Shiesty's side, and a couple of them took it, pouring up like everything was smooth, no tension, no warning signs, just casual energy before everything flipped. Inside that recording room, things shifted fast. Reports say Shiesty pulled out contract termination papers he already had prepared and told Gucci to sign them. That detail matters. Those papers didn't just appear out of nowhere. This wasn't random. It was planned ahead of time. Gucci refused. Voices got louder, the mood changed, and the conversation turned heated.
They're facing a range, so there's no mandatory minimum in this case. It's a range of punishment, and it'll be in the province of the judge, whoever gets the case. But it could be from 0 all the way to life imprisonment.
Back in the control room, someone noticed through the glass that things were getting intense and quickly texted security waiting in the lobby. Then came the moment that changed everything. Reports say Shiesty allegedly told Big 30 to grab a bag. Big 30 stepped out, came back with it, and that's when the situation escalated to a whole different level. According to reports, Shiesty pulled out a black AK-style pistol and pointed it directly at Gucci, demanding he sign the paperwork right there on the spot. All of this happening in a studio ankle monitor on cameras recording and security nearby. The risk couldn't be higher. Legal experts have pointed out how serious that kind of charge can get. Defense attorney Bruce Rivers has explained that a firearm charge like that in federal court carries a mandatory minimum sentence that is extremely tough to fight. We are talking about years, automatically added on top of anything else, not optional, not flexible, just locked in by law. Once that pressure peaked, the paperwork got signed. Williams Sr. and Big 30 were reportedly standing right there. The entire time watching everything unfold, Gucci wasn't allowed to leave the recording room, trapped in a situation that was already spiraling out of control. It gets even more intense. Big 30 allegedly pulled out his phone and started recording the moment Gucci signed, forcing him to say on camera that he was releasing Shiesty from 1017. They filmed it like proof, like it would protect them later. But in reality, it only made everything more serious. It wasn't just business anymore. It had turned into something far more personal, far more disrespectful.
This case really underscores the importance of standing up for crime victims, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Then things escalated again. Reports say Shiesty went through Gucci's belongings, taking his wedding ring, watch, earrings, and cash. They allegedly ran his pockets like a straight stick-up, stripping away valuables in a way that hit way beyond money taking. A man's wedding ring, after everything that was built in that relationship, pushed the situation into another level of disrespect. Meanwhile, in the control room, chaos reportedly broke out. Multiple people pulled out handguns and AKAR-style weapons, going through belongings, watches, chains, wallets, jewelry. Everything was being taken. One victim was pushed onto a couch. Another was allegedly grabbed and choked from behind as panic spread through the room. One co-defendant, McDaniel, was even accused of threatening to shoot someone for moving towards Shiesty, while Shiesty himself reportedly told him to chill a moment. That shows just how quickly things were spinning out of control and how close it came to becoming a much more violent case. Afterward, everyone left in separate vehicles. No shots fired, but the damage was already done, with surveillance witness accounts and especially the ankle monitor data placing. Shiesty at the exact location, investigators say, the evidence lined up in a way that made the case extremely difficult to deny. His GPS monitor was tracking every move the entire time he was at that studio. Cell phone records lined up with license plate readers confirming coordinated travel among all 9 defendants. Even more damning, his father allegedly rented one of the getaway vehicles under his own name.
I don't like it for either side. You know what I'm talking about? Guwap most definitely didn't deserve that, and I don't want to see this for the little homie Pooh Shiesty, but this nigga's got to be educated and understand. In business, you got to negotiate, my nigga. You got to negotiate it.
On top of that, surveillance cameras from multiple locations, including the studio, a nearby office supply store, and the hotel where some of them stayed, captured everything on video. Investigators didn't stop there. Fingerprint analysis from the scene reportedly matched 2 of the defendants, locking in another layer of physical evidence. At that point, the feds weren't dealing with guesswork. They had digital data, physical forensics, and surveillance footage all pointing in the same direction, building a case that was stacking up fast. Then came the moment that really had legal analyst Bruce Rivers reacting strongly. Just hours after leaving the studio, several defendants were allegedly posting on social media, showing off jewelry that appeared to be stolen during the incident. One co-defendant even had a screenshot up featuring a Rolex believed to be part of the stolen items. They were essentially displaying the evidence online for the entire world to see, including law enforcement. What looked like bragging turned into what many called self-incrimination in real time, making the situation even worse. And then there was the final piece that tied everything together. One of the bags taken from the studio reportedly contained an AirTag, which allowed the victims to track the exact location of their stolen property. Between the ankle monitor, data phone records, cameras, rental receipts, license plate readers, fingerprints, social media posts, and the AirTag tracking the evidence trail was so complete that investigators described it as unusually straightforward to reconstruct stupid games, stupid prizes. That is the energy surrounding what came next. For nearly 3 months, the case sat sealed while federal investigators quietly built their file piece by piece. No rushing, no leaks, just methodical work. Every receipt, every surveillance frame, every GPS ping was collected and locked in. Then April 2nd, 2026 hit. That is when the operation went live. Coordinated raids dropped across Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville.
A lot of what will guide what's called the sentencing guidelines will be the individual's previous criminal history, the fact that one of these individuals committed the offense while on home confinement.
All at once, 8 out of 9 defendants were taken into custody in a synchronized sweep, including Shiesty, his father Rel Williams Sr., Big 30, and 5 others. One co-defendant reportedly remains on the run, adding another layer to an already massive case. The charge at the center of it all, conspiracy to commit kidnapping under 18 U.S.C. 1201. This is not minor, it is federal kidnapping law carrying a sentencing range from 0 to life in prison. And unlike state time, federal time means serving roughly 85% of the sentence with extremely limited early release options. That alone shows how serious the situation is. The Northern District of Texas didn't hold back. During their press conference, either officials made it clear they were fully committed to the case, emphasizing how strongly they believed in the evidence gathered. This is a jurisdiction known for strict sentencing standards, where federal judges are not known for leniency in high-profile violent cases. Legal analyst Bruce Rivers had already pointed out how serious that environment is. He even referenced prior experience at sentencing seminars in that same district, noting firsthand how unforgiving those courts can be when it comes to cases like this. Prosecutors highlighted the scale of the investigation: subpoenas, search warrants, digital tracking, and multi-agency coordination between the FBI Memphis Police Department and Shelby County Sheriff's Office. They emphasized how quickly and thoroughly the case came together once all the evidence was aligned, presenting it as a textbook example of federal investigative work at full force. And then the prosecution came down hard on Shiesty. Specifically, catching a new federal case while you were already serving time on a prior federal conviction is one of the worst positions you can be in. Legally, courts treat that as a major aggravating factor because it sends a very direct message. This person had structured supervision and a second chance, and still ended up back in the exact same system. Judges don't take that lightly. It signals pattern behavior, not a mistake, and that becomes a key issue in sentencing decisions.
Oh my God, how dumb is this? How dumb are these f***ers? Yeah, I'm flexing. I mean, you're bragging about something you stole, not something you worked for.
On April 8, 2026, U.S. Magistrate Judge Renee Harris Tolliver officially denied bond for Shiesty and ordered him remanded into federal custody in Dallas. The court pointed to multiple concerns, including alleged firearms involvement, potential exposure to a life sentence, and violations tied to supervised release conditions and the ankle monitor. At that point, he wasn't going anywhere, and then comes the part that makes the situation even more complicated. The contract he allegedly forced Gucci to sign under pressure? Legally, it doesn't hold up under U.S. law. Agreement signed under duress can be voided, meaning the affected party can disaffirm it and it's treated as invalid from the start. So despite all the chaos surrounding that moment, no court has ever officially recognized that release industry attorneys have consistently pointed out that the original 1017 contract remains in effect. In the end, the fallout was massive. Shiesty not only jeopardized his own freedom, but also pulled his father and multiple associates into a federal conspiracy case while facing charges serious enough to potentially erase years of his prime career time. On top of time, all of this chaos for a piece of paper that in the eyes of the law carries no real weight under those conditions, and the wildest part, the contract he was trying so hard to escape is still legally active. Rick Ross, someone who has been in the industry long enough to understand exactly how these business structures work, stepped in to break down what should have happened. Instead, Ross wasn't taking sides. He made that clear.
The first thing they did was put it on Snapchat and flexed on Snapchat. How dumb do you have to be?
He had respect for both Gucci and Shiesty, but he also made it known that the way the situation unfolded crossed a line that no amount of frustration or contract disagreement can justify. His message was straightforward. The entire point is this: when you have a problem with a deal, you handle it at the table. You bring lawyers, you negotiate, you challenge it through legal channels. Ross has seen enough bad contracts and broken deals over the years to know one thing for sure. Force never works in the boardroom. He put it bluntly: you don't shoot your way out of a contract, you don't intimidate your way out. Either you sit down, you bring legal representation, and you fight for your value the right way. Every major artist who ever escaped a bad deal did it through business pressure negotiations or legal wins, not violence. Even Prince went through it publicly with Warner Brothers, writing slave on his face and fighting for years. It was messy, it was loud, but it stayed within the system, and eventually he regained control of his work. That's how the industry is designed to function, whether artists like it or not. Then on April 10th, 2026, Just a day after the bond denial, Gucci Mane responded publicly. He released Crash Dummy produced by Zaytoven, and the lyrics left absolutely no room for interpretation, sending a clear message through the music itself. The key line landed like a hammer drop. Tell the truth, you went out like a real crash dummy, and after everything that unfolded, Gucci doubled down with another sharp reminder, boy, you still signed to me. He compared his position in the industry to Birdman's cash money dominance, framing the entire situation as a calculated setup from his perspective.
One of the individuals that's been charged has not had his initial appearance yet, but agents are actively working to locate and bring him to court.
In his verse, he leaned into themes of betrayal and trust, broken lines about people, confusing kindness for weakness, smiling faces, hiding hidden motives and loyalty, turning into disrespect. All painted his side of the story, and most importantly, he made one thing crystal clear to the public: Shiesty is still contractually tied to 1017. And, in his view, nothing about the none of the situation changed that. The culture immediately split right down the middle. One side saw Shiesty as an artist who felt trapped in a deal, someone who reacted out of frustration, trying to escape what he believed was an unfair situation, even if his method was extreme and legally disastrous. The other side saw it as blatant disrespect, a young artist turning on the same figure who helped build his entire career. From Memphis drill roots to mainstream success and platinum records. Outside voices jumped in too. 50 Cent publicly trolled Gucci online, digging into old tensions and adding fuel to an already explosive conversation. Yo Gotti, meanwhile, stayed mostly silent in public, but that didn't stop speculation about CMG's alleged involvement from circulating across hip-hop forums and social media threads. Then came the misinformation wave. Within days of the arrest, unverified accounts started, spreading claims that Shiesty had been stabbed 23 times in federal custody in Dallas by associates of Gucci. Other versions of the rumor flipped the story completely, saying he had stabbed another inmate and was placed in extended lockdown. The posts spread fast, racking up shares with emotional captions and sensational headlines, but none of it was real. There were no Bureau of Prisons reports, no court filings, and no official statements from law enforcement confirming any such incident at all. Federal facilities don't play games when it comes to security. Any real incident inside would trigger immediate internal investigations, official documentation, and public record filings.
Pooh Shiesty came home, y'all, and made the first day out, they sent him right back to jail. Pride and ego is our main enemy.
That's why officials made it clear these circulating rumors were nothing more than engagement bait stories twisted online for clicks, views, and attention rather than grounded in verified facts. Then Woody A. Memphis OG, who previously appeared during the YSL trial and has firsthand experience with the system, offered one of the most grounded takes in the entire conversation. He spoke from experience, not speculation. Shiesty, in his view, isn't seeing anything new inside he's been around it. He spent years in environments where men are serving 20, 30, even life sentences. He has seen firsthand what happens when the federal system fully locks someone in and decides to make an example out of them. From that perspective, Woody's message hit differently. Someone can sit in a cell surrounded by cautionary tales every single day and still come home and repeat the same patterns that lead right back there. And for him, it always circles back to the same core issues: pride and ego. Woody was one of the first to say it out loud before the wider conversation caught up. The streets hype you up, the energy around you builds a sense of invincibility, and everyone around you starts feeding that mindset. The problem is, very few people are ever in a position to say slow down, or this isn't worth it when things start escalating. That's not what the circle is designed to do. The crew rides with you when things are good, when the momentum is high and everything feels untouchable, but when it all collapses and ends up in a federal courtroom, that same circle disappears, and the only person left to face the consequences is the one whose name is on the indictment. Woody summed it up in a way that stuck: knowing when to walk away is everything.
You were signed for $100K and now you got 10 M's on the table. It's time to negotiate.
At some point, you have to recognize the situation for what it is and step back before it's too late. Because the same people who hype you up, who tell you nothing can touch you, are never the ones sitting next to you. When the judge starts reading out your sentence in open court and Woody wasn't speaking from theory, he was speaking from lived experience. He described that exact moment when the handcuffs click shut and reality hits all at once. That shift where everything stops feeling like a game and suddenly becomes real. Consequences, real time, real life on the line one day, people are cheering, on the next day they're nowhere to be found. He painted a lonely picture that stuck with people sitting in the back of a federal transport vehicle realizing everyone who hyped you up yesterday is now asleep in their own bed like nothing ever happened. Then Woody said something a lot of people in the culture avoid saying out loud. He talked about cemeteries, about the names and stories behind them, and made it clear this isn't a video game or a TV storyline. There are real funerals, real prison terms, and real families affected by every decision. And then he asked a question that cuts deep and makes people uncomfortable. Why don't people want to see young black men with money succeed? His answer wasn't about outside forces. It was about how some people misuse opportunity when they get it. That perspective didn't come from theory, but from someone who had been through the system and came out with a different mindset. Shiesty is 26, already carrying a career most artists from Memphis would dream of. Platinum records, major label backing money, fame and momentum. But now, instead of growth, he's facing the possibility of decades behind bars or even life in federal prison if convicted. His father is also facing conspiracy charges tied to the alleged plan. Big 30, his longtime collaborator, since before fame, is also caught in the same federal case, showing just how far-reaching the situation has become and how many lives are now tied to it. The situation now stands the same 8 other men are also staring down serious federal time, all tied to what could have been handled with a simple phone call to an entertainment lawyer instead of escalating into a federal case. The trial is expected to move forward in 2026 or 2027, and even more evidence is likely to surface, including full surveillance footage, witness testimony, and detailed forensic analysis. Defense attorneys haven't fully revealed their strategy yet, but reports suggest they may challenge identifications and argue that claims of coercion were exaggerated or misinterpreted, still based on what's already been presented. Ankle monitor tracking data, social media posts, AirTag location tracing, fingerprints, and multi-site surveillance footage. Prosecutors believe the government's case is extremely strong and heavily supported from multiple angles. Meanwhile, Gucci Mane remains free and 1017. Records continues operating under the original contract structure. The alleged attempt to tear up the deal at gunpoint has not been recognized in court, meaning the agreement is still legally in effect. Shiesty is currently being held in a federal facility in Dallas, now facing the consequences of turning a business dispute into a criminal case, moving from an ankle monitor to a federal jumpsuit after choosing street logic over legal strategy. And that's where the story stands for now. If you want more breakdowns like this, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the situation, and stay tuned, because there's always more coming your way.